Hey everybody, and welcome to tonight's episode. We're sitting down with Ant Andrews, who has just been going through his surgery and has finally got what he wanted, and that is an ileostomy. So we're going to be catching up with him tonight. He's going to fill us in on all the details of going through the surgical procedure and all the stuff that happens on the after side of that. And if you've been following him on Instagram, you'll see that it's been a bit of an emotional roller coaster for the guy. How's things been for you? You've had your NG tube out now, which is amazing.
Oh, honestly, my nose actually still hurts. So today was the first day I've been able to eat something and it stayed down and it's actually been digested, which is a godsend, because this has been it's been a battle. It hasn't. The doctor said to me when I first came in, you'll be out in a week. So I kind of used that as the assumption. And now it's 16 days post-surgery and I'm still in the hospital. That's where it becomes frustrating. If the doctors have gone, you might be here for a month, then it would have been fine, if that makes sense. But things have really turned a corner. Stoma's working really well. And the doctors have gone, if you're eating tomorrow and stomaching everything, we'll send you home on Monday because there's no point in being here, which is just really, really pleasing news. So fingers crossed it carries on overnight.
Oh, mate, that's really exciting because I know you've been in for a while. For those that weirdly might not follow you on Instagram and haven't been following your story, do you mind just cueing people in as to what's actually happened? Like, how long have you been in hospital for now, and what procedure is it you've just had done?
Of course. So for people that don't follow me, I used to, which is the weirdest thing, I used to suffer with ulcerative colitis. And I did a podcast a while ago with Johnny in the summer, and we talked about diagnosis and things. And I was due to have surgery several times. It was postponed a lot due to complications, waiting lists, etc. How the NHS seems to operate. And I had my subcolectomy, which is a procedure to remove the large colon, the large intestine. You leave the rectal stumping, sort of back passageway. And what they do is they remove the large colon and the small part of your bowel then protrudes out of your abdomen as a stoma. And I had that last week, 2 weeks ago. And I am very, very thankful that I got it. My stoma looked amazing, and I've had a few people come up that have had IBD and stomas, and they're like, "Wow, yours actually looks like a textbook one." It's like a small, stubby little pink thing. It's quite nice to look at, as bizarre as it sounds. And that has got rid of my colitis. So I have 0 colitis symptoms, and I will never have colitis symptoms again. And it's quite staggering that I've had colitis for 10 years, so a third of my life, and I'm never going to have it anymore. So yeah, it's been, from that perspective, incredibly worthwhile.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And to have been through your journey, how many years did you have colitis for, or how many years was it since your first diagnosis?
10 years.
10 years.
So this is technically going into year 11, because I was 19 when I was diagnosed, but yeah, 10 years. And you don't realise just how much you put up with, like how much shit you put up with, and you just get on. You know, you take for granted the amount of days that you're in so much pain that you still go to work. You know, you want to lie in bed and you don't. And yes, counterintuitively, I'm in a hospital. I've had major surgery, but even though I've been in pain because of that surgery and there's been gas build-up and stuff, I felt so energized all the time, and I've never had that feeling for so long because I've always had, chronic fatigue and real energy problems, I feel absolutely brilliant.
So you've noticed
And
that
this is
already,
what I
that
haven't.
your energy's up?
Yeah, and you know, I spoke to my boss the other day, and I was like, I could literally come back to work now. I have more energy than I did beforehand, and it's very difficult to sort of, when you start to look back, you're like, why didn't I do this earlier? You know, today's the first day that I've eaten. Every day before this, I've literally been sipping water and just sucking on hard-boiled sweets, but I still felt incredibly energized. Only the last 2 days, they've given me a PICC line, so they've intravenously giving me nourishment, and I feel even more energized. So when I start eating consistently and properly, like all the foods that I can now eat, I'm going to be like running around like a madman. I'm going to have so much energy. It's going to be incredible. So yeah, it's been a 2 weeks where I'm not going to lie, you do learn quite a lot about how mentally resilient you have to be when you do a procedure like this. Because lots of people, and I've if people haven't been watching my stories and stuff, I've tried to document this as openly as possible. So the good days, the bad days, you know, I've documented when I've cried because of the pain. I've documented because I've been so happy because of the drugs that have been running around your system and all this stuff. It's been emotionally a challenge, but so worthwhile.
Do you mind explaining what was the sort of final nail in the coffin, so to speak, or what was the decision-making process that led you to considering having an ileostomy?
So, well, basically, I've had it for 10 years. 3 years ago, they actually offered me the option for surgery. And at that time, 3 years ago, I wasn't mentally prepared for it. And I wanted to try more in regards to the drugs that were on offer, like Humira, Vendizilizumab, whatever it's called, Infliximab, whatever. Because I wanted to at least try and exhaust all options. And if I didn't need to have a major operation, I wouldn't, if that makes sense. If I could just be managed with drugs and stuff, it'd be okay. And at that time, I was just on azathioprine, a low dosage, and it was only taking a couple of pills, and it was getting to manage okay. But after that, I went on to much harder drugs, so cyclosporine and another biologic. And it started to become a sort of balancing act of, you need to have this drug to protect your colitis, to quell your colitis. But you also need to have this drug to stop your kidneys from failing, and you need to have this drug to stop your liver from failing. And you have to come every week for blood tests to ensure that we're managing things. And I was doing that for a little while, and it was getting quite annoying, quite tiring. And they were saying, yeah, we're really worried about your kidney function. We're going to take you off this drug. So they took me off the drug, and they were like, right, we'll try and put you on a different drug. And again, every time we were going through different drug trials, there was many more side effects that were quite severe, quite tiring. And it just got to the point saying, what's the point in doing this? I sort of formed the analogy going, you wouldn't have a gangrenous hand and just pump that hand full of drugs in the hope that you keep the hand. Just cut the hand off. You'd have a much better quality of life. And, yes, you would have a major operation, but you don't need to have all these drugs which are giving you those side effects. And that, I went through small periods of remission, like a few months on, a few months off, a few months on, a few months off, and the symptoms weren't too severe. And they're running up towards Christmas. I think I had the worst flare-up I've had since I can remember, really. I was taking days off work, and I never take days off work. It was getting to the point where things were just becoming so difficult. And I was going 20 times ago. I think there's one day I was talking to my brother, and I was actually at work because I couldn't miss work. And I was like, what did he joke? He said, what's the magic number today? And I said, it's 24. And this was at
24 times going number 2.
In one day, yeah. And this was at 5:30 in the evening. And because I was getting up at about 4 a.m, and between 4 and 8, that would be about 10 times, if not more. And then it would sort of subside, and I'd run maybe backwards and forwards quite a lot at work. And then when I get home, it'd be even worse. And I was like, I just can't live like this anymore. It's getting too much. And during all of last year, I had several surgery dates pushed back, and they didn't want to put me on steroids. They didn't want to put me on any stronger drugs, because then you have to wait even longer for that to come out of your system to then have surgery again. So I was literally going months just full on flare ups, no medication. And that was incredibly draining. And then fortunately, the surgery wasn't cancelled in February, and they got me in. And yeah, the rest is history, as they say. So
yeah, it's been a hell of a journey to this point, really.
yeah.
So one of the things I noticed was watching your stories reminded me just how difficult a transition it can be sometimes, moving, even though it's an elective surgery, and the prospects after the first few weeks are really, really good. And, you know, like you're already saying that your energy's up. Just could you just talk to people that maybe are considering having this surgery, and what it was like waking up, and then how your first few days adjusting to having a stoma were? Because I know it was a bit sort of difficult with.
So with the first day, I remember waking up from surgery. I was really, really, really hot. I woke up and I had a gas mask on and tube in, and I was trying to take the tube out and the gas mask off. I was like, no, I'm too hot, I can't breathe. And they were like, no, it's okay, it's all right, just relax. They took everything off me, so I was literally lying there just in like pants, basically. And I cooled right down, and they took me to recovery. I was pumped for obviously a lot of drugs, so I couldn't feel any pain.
Did you have an epidural, or did you have, what did you have?
What I had was it was similar to an epidural. I had basically just an injection into my back, which basically numbed my entire back, and sort of below to my knees, and then just general anesthetic and stuff. Weirdly enough, one of the anaesthetists was one of my old friends, who I hadn't seen for years and years and years. And he went, "Mr. Andrews," like, yes, I know you. And we'd actually watched the Super Bowl together at his house ages and ages ago.
No way.
Yeah, no, it's a small world, really small world. And then the chief anaesthetist was like, "Oh, if you know him, do you still want to do the surgery?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm not fussed." He's like, "Oh, some people don't like it." So yeah, I came around, and the first like few hours, you hallucinate quite a bit. It's weird. I remember coming out of surgery, and just because the amount of drugs that you're on, I was on like diamorphine, which is medical heroin, which was great. I think it was amazing. I suddenly see why all these addicts love it so much. No, they sort of wheeled me around, and I saw my mum and dad. They came to see me, and although I remember them being there, I can't really remember the conversations. But I just when they were there, we were chatting. I was just really slurring my words. I think I even did a post on Instagram like, "Yeah, done it, got a bag for life" or something. And I thought I was really eloquent with how I was saying it. And then because mentally I prepared for my stoma, I knew what I was getting into. If people are watching this and they're electing to it, you need to mentally get in your head that you're going to have something protruding out of your stomach. So I'd really advise getting some trial products. So, people like Chartered Coloplast, Salts, they do trial kits with little plastic stomas that you can stick on your body.
I think
really
I see
recommend
that on your Instagram page. I think you had it a few months back.
I'd really, really recommend getting them, because you mentally then look at what life's going to look like. But when you wake up, mine was like massive, and it was like this flat sort of bulging disc that was a really dark red, full of blood. So they put the bag on. They're like, "We're really, really happy with the surgery." And obviously you look at it and you're like, "Wow, that's massive." And they say to you, "Look, it will all calm down over time, and things will be absolutely fine. The stoma's working because we can see stuff coming out of it, so it's all good." And then what then happens is, because my surgery was keyhole, they pump you full of gas. and they don't then deflate you. They let the gas go out naturally with the anaesthetic. The pain.
How did you find that?
That's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. So you're just walking around bloated, and they're like, "Yep, get out of bed, do whatever." And initially, when you've got like the, oxycodone and stuff like that for pain medication, you're much more mobile. You can do what you need to do. But when the pain sort of medication subsides, you get incredible pain in your stomach because of the bloating. And it's waiting for your stomach to pass all of that gas, which takes forever because your bowel doesn't like being played with. So the fact that you've cut a chunk out of it and then stuck it out your stomach, it doesn't like it. And it's really slow to move. You get massive pain in your shoulders and your fingertips because you're in a hospital bed. The gas rises. You get terrible hiccups. You burp a hell of a lot. Like, I think it was days after my mum and dad came, and I was sitting there going like that for ages. And then very slowly, the gas and the pain slowly starts to wear away. But it's a different type of pain that then takes over. The gas and the bloating pain subsides, and then you get the surgical pain. So obviously, you've had major abdominal surgery.
And how did that feel? Was that a struggle for you to manage your pain meds? Were you still self-administering morphine and stuff at that point, or were you?
No, I didn't have a morphine kick them because
Okay.
they said if we give you morphine, we're gonna run the risk of you your bowel falling asleep because your bowel doesn't like morphine at all. We're going to give you oxycodone, which is in a similar sort of family of opiates, but it's a bit kinder to your bowel. So we're going to give you that. And I'll be honest, it was fine. The surgical pain side of it was okay. You just feel a bit battered and bruised internally. But what most hospitals and doctors will say is get walking about as soon as you can, because we need to aid that recovery by you doing active recovery. So, first day, I think my surgery was 8:30. Day after, like 12 hours after surgery, I'm walking around because I was like, sort of, let's just walk about. And it was good. It was really good fun. And it was like, right, cool, I'm on my way. And then my bowel decided to stop playing ball. So
how did that come about?
So I think I've got to the bottom of it. I had a chat with my surgeon this morning. So the surgery was Thursday. I was then moved to a different ward on the Saturday and Sunday. And they were like, right, cool. Let's get you eating. So let's have a soft diet. So it was like, let's just get you straight in on soft diet. Because I was on little protein shaky things. And I could see the stoma outputting. So they were like, right, it's working. We're happy with it. Let's start you on food. I had, I think, half the ham sandwich, a little bit of custard. And then I got really bloated. So the best way I can describe this with people, if people have suffered with incredibly bad trapped gas, like trapped wind, it was like that, but tenfold. Like I was walking around and I looked 6 months pregnant. Like my stomach was so distended, it was so painful.
I think I remember when my boy went to sleep after. I think it went to sleep after all of my surgeries, but I always remember a distinct point where it almost felt like a switch, and I'd get a gargling sound, almost like it was shutting down or something, and I'd be like, "Damn it, I knew what's happened." But talking about then about being 6 months pregnant. How did that go?
Mate, it's just bizarre because you can feel all the fluid moving around. It gets to your stoma site and stops, and then it just goes backwards. So you end up having to they go, right, don't drink much. Let's just wait for this to pass. And it just wouldn't pass. I think I had 2 solid days of just severe pain. And eventually they gave me gastrografin, and it just shot out all of the backed up fluid. But the pain was just immense. And
was that pain, was that coming from the stoma, or was that just intestinal?
No,
or
just intestinal, yeah, just intestinal, but all the trapped wind. It was so uncomfortable. And I started throwing up a lot because everything was just blocking up and then going back up that way. And I was sick during the night. And I'm probably exaggerating, but I threw up at least, I don't know, it felt like a litres worth of fluid. It was disgusting. And it was all sort of like, it just tasted like shit. Like, I remember throwing up and being like, it doesn't taste like shit, that tastes like shit. I couldn't work out if it was just because, I don't know. I really
it's
just
been
couldn't
there
work
for
it out.
that
It was
long. You know what I
horrible.
mean? It's sad about
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Highly likely, it started the digestive process already. But yeah, and you're probably right. You probably were close to a litre as well. Unbelievable
It
how
was
much
horrid.
you
And then they went, right, because you're being sick, we've got to put an NG tube in. And if you ever get an NG tube, please ask for anaesthetic, like numbing gels or anything. I got nothing. And that was the worst. That was the worst thing I've had done.
That's when you find out you got a gag reflex, isn't it?
Fucking hell, no, just honestly, it took 6 attempts to get in, just in my nose. They tried one and the tube was too fat, and I'm literally telling the nurse, no, stop. You're literally poking my skull. That's not going anywhere. She said, no, it will do. I was like, it won't. And then they get it down your throat. And as it's going down, you just gag so much. And they're saying, like, please don't gag. I'm like, you're sticking something through my nose into my mouth. You just sit there going like that. Oh, it was horrible. Eventually they got it in. And the reason they do that is so they can aspirate that tube, so the contents of your stomach is drained, so there's less pressure being built up.
They suck it out basically through a syringe, innit?
Yeah. So that puts less pressure on your bowels. So then that means more can hopefully flow through a bit more momentarily. So they did that. And then
how did it feel having it in there? Do you know, once it was in, how did you...
Horrid.
Did you feel it in your throat?
Yeah. It felt like it was coiled in my throat. Like, even though it wasn't, it was, you could feel it there. And that made you gag more. So
I always
you
had
drink
this horrible
something
thing at the back of my throat where I could just feel, I felt like I could just feel something pressing, and I was just like,
yeah, exactly.
You constantly just have to swallow to get rid of it.
Yeah, exactly. And then you swallow and you go, because it's built up. So if you drink water, because I was put on sips for like 4 or 5 days, and every time I'd sip water, I'd gag. And I literally, that was where I was getting to the point going, I can't see a way out of this. This is horrendous. And I was being sick just on the sips of fluid I was having. And that was mentally very, very difficult because everything was going really well. And then 3 or 4 days after, it gone straight downhill. Then they got rid of it all with the gastrography, they took all the gas away. They left the NG tube in and say, right, we'll start you back on fluids. Start to have fluids, perked right back up again. Started feeling really good. And then my stoma, I just fell asleep or got blocked up again.
Did this catch you by surprise, the sort of the need for the NG tube and, you know, the lazy stoma and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Because the doctors and everybody said you're incredibly fit and healthy. I even said when we did your surgery, I don't mean to boast or anything like that, so please. They were like, we did your surgery. There was no fat on you whatsoever. Your veins, your arteries were really, really superficial. They were massive. You know, we cut into you, and I had a medical student that was there, or a trainee doctor, surgeon that was there, and he was saying, if you could do a textbook surgery and cut into someone, this is what it would look like. But they basically said, because you're so fit and healthy, on paper you'd be out of it like that. And that's what was annoying me. It was because I kept saying, you're so healthy. And you know, you've got everything's working perfectly. Everything is where I wanted it to be. The surgery went so well. You'd think the recovery would go just as quickly and just as good. And when I've been chatting to my surgeon a lot, and he said, look, if you were an 80-year-old man that was fat, you would have been out by now because your body's so elastic, because you're not as muscular then. It wouldn't matter too much with the stoma site itself because it would be so relaxed. He said, because you've got such a strong abdominal wall, that's your stoma site. And every time you do something, your abdominal wall contracts. So that stops, and that causes blockages and things like that because you're so muscular. And he said, and that's a battle, which, we were really worried about getting hernias and things.
That's really interesting, actually, because
because
one of my mates, I think I've talked to you about him before, John, he's had a number of prolapses and things like that, but he would suffer quite a lot from blockages. And he's an immensely fit bloke, like he's ripped. He won't mind me obviously saying that. But yeah, that's a really interesting thought. I never thought of it that way, that being fit could actually...
Well, that was what he said. He said that's the thing you'll have to really look at, is prolapsing. The only reason you'll have prolapses is because when they do the surgery, they need to make sure they've got enough looseness around the stoma site. So A, it's not too tight, and B, it doesn't run the risk of herniating. He said, but sometimes, as your bowel's going to move and stuff like this, obviously things will contract, etc., and you'll prolapse simply because of how muscular you are. He said, but that shouldn't happen, but some cases it does. And I've known friends and other people that do suffer with IBD that have had prolapsed stuff. And I think one guy was doing a press up and it popped out, which would be incredibly frightening. But then, it's like anything. It's major surgery, and you've just got to deal with those, not complications, you've just got to ride it. It's just the journey, you've just got to ride it out. I knew it wasn't going to be literally, right, cool, I'll be in and out. But I didn't anticipate it would take this long. If they'd said to me at the start, you're going to be here for a month, then I'd be like, wicked, I'm 2 weeks ahead of time. Couldn't be happier. And yeah, I wouldn't have necessarily felt so bad at times or frustrated. But the biggest thing is when you get to rock bottom. So you're in so much pain, you're throwing up everything, nothing's moving, nothing's working. That's when it becomes a real mental fight, because you're looking at it going, why aren't you working? Come on, like, why is nothing happening? Why is nothing moving? You get really frustrated because you can't do the normal things you want to do. So you can hardly walk around, or if you do, you're just in so much pain. You can't eat, you can't drink. You're exhausted, you're not sleeping. You're absolutely drained of all energy. And you're like, right, I need to get through this. And that's where it becomes a mental test, which I knew it would be. And that's why I was lucky and I prepared for it. And that was where there was a night where my brother, my mum, and my brother's wife came up to visit me a couple of Thursdays ago. And no word of a lie, Johnny, I literally, my brother said, you look like a skeleton. I was in bed and I was just like that. How much have I lost? I've lost, I think, 10.5 kilos in 2 weeks. So I've lost well over a stone. Yeah, well over a stone. So my brother was here and I could hardly talk. I couldn't move. I was exhausted. I was literally just going, hello, mate, you're right. And it's the first time Ollie had seen me after the initial day of surgery. And he was like, oh, Jesus. He was trying to cheer me up and stuff. And apparently when he went home, he was talking to mum on the way home. He was like, I hated that. I hated seeing Ant like that. My mum just kept bursting into tears. I cried a lot as well because I was so frustrated. I was in so much pain, and it was, you can't get rid of the gas because the gas has to go naturally. You can't just like stick a syringe in your stomach and suck all the gas out. It has to go naturally, and that's where it becomes frustrating, because if you're in pain, like with anything else, you just take some medication and that would block the pain. Nothing would come out.
I remember screaming blue murder whenever I was going through, I think it was my final surgery, and was waiting for the gas, and I was convinced there was something had gone wrong. And
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
think I was still self-administering medication still as well. And I was like, this isn't strong enough. It's not strong enough.
yeah. And it's just it's awful. But at that point, I was, because I wasn't, it wasn't pain. So I was saying to the nurses, there's no point giving me opioids or whatever, because it's not that pain. It's gas. It's the buildup of gas which is causing all of this agony. Giving me that is not going to get rid of the gas. I have to get rid of the gas. And that's where they were giving me gastrografin and stuff, and that moved things along. And that took a day and a half to kick in. They're like,
Did
yeah, it'll
anybody
work straight
give you
away.
peppermint and stuff?
Yeah, but everyone's like, try this, drink peppermint tea, roll on your side, try and do this, and you're trying to do everything and nothing's working, and that's where it becomes so frustrating. And then you're drinking peppermint tea, and then you're being sick, and you're like, I can't win at the moment. There's no light at the end of the tunnel that I can see at this stage. And this is
So
where
true, though.
I'll be honest.
It's so true of that journey.
Oh, but this is why I've documented it, because I've not seen anything like that sort of produced before. And if you're going to go and have this surgery, you have to see what it's like warts and all, because it will not be a walk in the park. Some people it is great.
Have you saved the stories onto your Instagram?
Yeah. I'm also doing a project with a couple of friends. I can't really talk about it yet, but it will be quite a massive project. And once I've done that, I'll share it. But it's literally my journey, start to finish. And I'll share that with everyone. But yeah, even in that, I videoed myself crying. My mum said, why have you done that? And I said, because this is what happened. And I said, it's really important to show people just the brutal rawness of having major surgery, so you can actually see for yourself, this is what it's going to be like. You're going to have an amazing life. Things are going to be brilliant. I'm so pleased I've done this surgery, but you have to see what it's like for those 2 weeks. One of my friends put it quite eloquently, actually, and I quite like the analogy. If you're, say, for example, aiming for a target with an archery bow, you pull the bow back, and you said those 2 weeks of surgery, or those 2 weeks after surgery, is pulling the bow back before you can then go forward. You have to go through the rough before it starts to become smooth. It's kind of like you have to earn it, if that makes sense. It's risk and reward. You have to have that element of really.
You got to run the race to get the medal,
mate. Exactly. Because the goal and the target is so glorious that you have to get there. You have to climb Everest. So that's why when I put on my first post out of surgery, it was like, this is strength. This is my Everest. And fucking hell, mate, I won't lie to you. It has been a battle, but it's so worth the reward. And yeah, you get massive highs and massive lows, and that's where I'll be 100% honest. If I didn't have this Instagram account, I only know one other person that has this, and she's one of my good friends, Hayley, she's literally been like my sort of guardian angel, because I've been voice noting her and messaging her going, what does this mean? What's this? Because she had exactly the same surgery. But if I had nobody, you'd be incredibly isolated, because when you sit in hospital all day, you can't really go anywhere. I walk around a lot, but there's not a lot you can do. You see your doctors and your nurses. Doctors for about 10 minutes in the morning. They might pop in the afternoon. Your nurses pop in and out when they need to do observations, check your meds, whatever. But you're left on your own. And if you were doing this as an emergency and you didn't have the support network, I wouldn't be as positive about all of this at all. I'd be so much more frightened than some people would be, and you're incredibly vulnerable. So it's been such a godsend that I've had this Instagram, because the amount of positivity that people have thrown back at me and shared stories and given advice and said, look, we're all rooting for you. that in itself really helps you push forward. Obviously, if you haven't got Instagram, I'm sure you'd have like a family and everything that would come around, but you know, your family can't be here all the time. You know, your friends can't be here all the time. You can't live in hospital with a patient. So every single person that's messaged me, every single person that has, you know, given me advice, or whatever, from the bottom of my heart, I can't thank you enough. I'm going to caveat that, because there are some people on social media that have produced a lot of negativity towards my surgery. I'm not going to name names, but I've had people go, well, lucky you, you've got colitis, so you're cured. I've got Crohn's, so I'm still fucked. Why would you say that to somebody that's had an operation? Why? Like, what are you winning? What are you achieving from that comment? Secondly, I've had people give me advice, and obviously I've documented what I've been doing, and people have come back to me and gone, well, you know, you should have taken my advice. And it's like, hang on a minute, guys. Like, first of all, you're not my doctors, and my doctors are telling me to do something, so I'm going to take my doctor's advice. And B, you need to really think. This is what, you know, this is the problem with social media at the moment. I'm not going to go into the whole thing about Caroline Flack and stuff, but like, I'd like to think I'm quite mentally strong. If I was really mentally vulnerable and people are telling me, well, you should have done what I told you to do, like, that could be breaking point for some people. The negative comments have been, you know, very, very few and far between, but a lot of people don't think before they type. And you know, I wasn't expecting anything like that whilst I've been in hospital. You know, some people even messaged me going, why haven't you replied to me yet? And you're like, what? Mate, I'm recovering. Like, what are you doing? Like, you know, I'm prioritizing myself. And it's just, that's the other side of social media as well, which is just, yeah, it's something else for a different, probably a conversation for a different day. But
yeah, and I think you're right though. You will 100% get both sides chucked at you, whether you want it or not. And it is difficult to go trying to figure that out. I think but we could waste so many hours trying to figure that out, I think.
But yeah,
well, I was so impressed with how honest what you were doing it was just such an honest approach to what was happening. And it's sort of like, I was sat there, I had so much empathy. It was unreal. I was just like, I can't believe how similar the stuff you're going through that I'd experienced almost exactly to the day and the hour that you were experiencing it. And it was just like, I think that's such a great thing and such a brave thing to have just pressed record and send it.
But I think the reason why I've done it is to show everybody like the rawness of it. But again, like it's just you said, it's reminded you of the journey you've done. So it makes you empathetic, but then also so grateful and thankful for what you've gone through to where you are now. And that's the main point, is to put across, is that yes, doing this whole bit, that's a minute part of your life. And yeah, you're going to go through ups and downs and stuff, but to get to that end point, you know, it's so worth it. It's fortunate that you don't remember pain. You remember the discomfort that you've had and, I had a horrible day and stuff, but you can't physically remember it. So, you know, it's I've done this designed to be an honest, open approach. So everyone then has that informative decision to then have the surgery. If you're going to have it and if you're thinking about it, do it. Because you know, I can't get out of my head that I haven't been to the toilet. I haven't run off to the toilet like I normally do. You know, I've got a little bag and it goes into a little bag, and it's great. You know, I've already, and this is counterintuitive, I've already got my life back because I'm relaxing. I'm not in pain. I haven't got the fatigue. I haven't got all the symptoms that I had with colitis. That's all gone. I'm just recovering from surgery. And that in itself is just incredible. It's so incredible. So with your surgeries, you had a takedown, didn't you? So you don't have a bag or anything like that?
Yeah, so I went through a J pouch operation, mostly elected through wanting to stay in the military. So I was advised that that's the process I would have to go through. There was obviously some vanity reasons as well. Like initially, whenever the surgical option became P1, it was like, oh, I was still, I'd just turned 30 and I was panicking about having a bag and things like that. And it all happened within the space of 28 days, 30 days. So I'd been admitted to hospital and things weren't working out. And all of a sudden I went in thinking this is just a major flare. I'll have a bit of steroids or whatever and I'll be out. This isn't working and your bowel's about to fall apart. And so, yeah. But yeah, the surgeries I ended up having, it took me 3 surgeries. Some people can get it done in 2. And I believe in some places now you can almost do it in 1 to create a J pouch. But the second surgery for me was the biggest one in creating the pouch itself. The first one, they just removed the affected colon and stuck my small intestine to my butt, basically.
Yeah.
In fact, no, they didn't say it. They stuck my small intestine out a hole in my stomach, out the hole in my abdominal wall. But yeah, it's crazy. Like it's really crazy.
And then they take it down.
Yeah, and so like you had the first one is to get you're just like where you are now. You're just so relieved from having been sick for so long.
Yeah, I mean, so what with yours then? Were there any complications with your surgery? Like, how long were you in hospital for? Did your bowels fall asleep? And what? The final thing I was just going to ask was, what was the difference with the takedown side of it? So you have your first surgery and then your second and your third. Like, what was the overall differences then that you felt each and every time after surgery?
I think the first one would be fairly similar to yourself. I was very lucky on my first surgery. I didn't have to have an NG tube put in. I kind of just managed to somehow struggle for, I think it was about 24 hours, and then things started moving. But it was like one of those things where they said, you've got to stop being sick or we're going to have to put an NG tube in. So that was that was a real, that was a proper like mind over matter, but I don't think I was as serious as further surgeries or like your experience. I think somehow I was able to sort of manage it, and they gave me anti-sick, and that seemed to sort of tide me over. But I was like,
it's too late.
the first one, I was like, what you're experiencing now, I was like, from being so unwell to all of a sudden, it was just amazing how much that actually affected my equilibrium and my balance. And I was just like, I was just bouncing the first time. The second surgery, I didn't appreciate how much bigger that surgery was going to be compared to my first surgery. And it was 6-7 hours worth of surgery. And I woke up, I think it was about 7 p.m. I went in, I think the surgery was at midday or 1 o'clock. And I think it was about 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. And I thought 4 hours like the last one. And I woke up and found out that it was that time of day. And I was like, people are going to be worried about me. I've told them I'd be out at this time. Like, and I'm like trying to get somebody to get my phone out because I'm obviously bedbound, and it's like freaking out. But yeah, the weird part or the hardest part was definitely dealing with the gas and then dealing with the stalls. And I genuinely had, by the third surgery, I kind of knew what my triggers were. It was like 24 hours post-op, I would hit it. And I knew, so in the second one, I knew this was coming. And so I was like 24 hours, right? I automatically reduced then to just having liquid and very, very like, liquid food essentially. And it managed to pass that time not too badly, and then it stalled then, and then I had to have an NG tube, but it was only in for a day, and then it passed. It was the third one absolutely scuppered me. In my head it was the simplest surgery because it was just all they were doing was internalizing the stoma and connecting it back up so it went into my J pouch. And I thought, oh, this is going to be like maybe 3 hour surgery, I think it was. And
be quick.
And that one had me the worst. I don't know why. But obviously having then go into the toilet again as well and things like that was really interesting. But yeah, the NG tube.
So why was the third one so bad for you?
Because it stalled for so long. It stalled for 3 or 4 days. And then
you kind
yeah, so I was like,
completely went to sleep.
yeah, so it was weird, really weird. And then it started up again, and then it went through the process of being discharged. And then I was at home for I think 2 days, and by midday the second day, it went to sleep again. And so then I was like in agony. I knew what had happened. I was being sick, and I was like, oh, and I could barely do anything. So then I had to get brought back in the hospital. And I was lying in A&E across the seats, just like in absolute agony, because as you can imagine, I was distended. And eventually I got brought in, and the girl who was treating me was new straight away. And she's like, right, took my stats and was like, right, we need to put an NG tube in straight away. So she just shoved the flipping NG. Like, it was the quickest NG I'd ever had administered. But I was like, he was going, you were really good. I was like, I've just covered you in projectile bile. But
yeah.
But yeah, and then I was in them for another week and a bit until things started moving. And but after that, I was really cautious for about a month. So
yeah,
I was just like having really basic foods, really making sure I was staying away from fiber foods and stuff like that.
100%. Yeah.
But I'll be honest, it was so scary. I think the main one for me was I bounced back so well on my first 2 surgeries that then having the J pouch, and in my head, I'd not prepared at all. In my head, this was my end state. This was nirvana, for argument's sake. And it was just like, what is this? And then having to then go back up and go to the toilet as well was freaking me out, because I had so many accidents in the hospital bed, and just all those sorts of things. It made me feel a little bit like I'd gone back to having the disease. And then when it wasn't working as well, it was a bit, I was like, it's the first time I had to actually go back to hospital after being discharged, and that freaked me out.
I think you're right with it though. Like, it is so mentally challenging, because you foolishly, you pin your hopes on everything working perfectly, and when it doesn't work perfectly, and then you're having to go backwards rather than go forwards, that's where it becomes so mentally challenging. And as you said, like, you were at home and then it all stopped again. And that's a anxiety of mine. I don't want to go home and things to stop. So I'll do exactly the same thing as you've been saying. Really, really low residue foods, low fiber, very, very slow food intake, and build everything up for about a month or so, which would be fine. But yeah, I mean, even from your stories, it's, it can be so frightening, as in, when you're in that much pain and things aren't working, you do then get that element of doubt going, was this the right idea? I won't lie, there were times after the surgery I went, well, I could have had more meds, but it's in those moments where you dig deep and go, no, it will get better. The amount of people that live a better life because of the bag, you have to see it through. And that's where, same as your story now, I'm sure you could say to everybody, after the 3rd surgery, hated it. It was so difficult, but look where I am now. And that's the thing. We're foolish in a sense, because we want things to happen quickly, because we're used to things happening quickly in our lives anyway, in society. But it is so worth it when you get there. And I'm not even fully there yet. I'm still in the hospital bed. That's why today has been a very big day, because the first day I've eaten, I had a sandwich, had a soup thing, had some Wotsits, had a little bit of chocolate, and my stoma's working, it's outputting, which is
And
good.
how good did that taste as well?
Oh, mate, I am right. Well, all I've sucked on all week are little hard boiled sweets, like Werther's Originals, and there are other brands available, and fruit sweet things. So all I've had is just sweet. So to have something savoury was just so nice. And as I put on a post the other day, you don't realise how lucky you are and how often you get to eat until you take that sensation away from you. Like, the oral pleasure you get from eating is amazing. So I sent a video of me eating this ham sandwich. I put a bit of mustard and mayo in it just to sort of liven it up. They just give you white bread and ham. It's just like, it's not the most exciting sandwich. And I videoed it for my project that I'm doing. And I sent the video to my mum and dad, to our family in my family chat. And my sister messaged me back saying, yeah, I think you're enjoying that sandwich a little too much. I think you and the sandwich should get a room. Because it was just like flavour, like, and then being able to eat and chew and swallow and not have an NG tube and not feel sick. And then, right, that was that. Let's have some crisps. Literally, like, what's it? Oh my God. Unbelievable. And that's
You're
not
almost
good
like,
food.
where have you been all my life?
Oh, the other side of this as well. And I've not been torturing myself. Lots of people have said, why have you done this? I've been watching shed loads of cookery programs. So many. Just because I'm literally going, right, I'm now planning what I can eat after surgery. And then I've written down all these recipes I want to try, and then changing and swapping out things that are quite fibrous and for other bits and stuff like that. And that's been a real motivator to get better, is to look at all the food that I can have, and that's the target. You'll get there. I'll tell you one other thing though, because of the drugs, you hallucinate. I hallucinated so much about food. I thought I had a nap. I don't really know. I hallucinated basically that I was eating a baguette that was filled with a lobster with garlic butter drizzled all over it. And I could physically remember eating it, even though I wasn't eating it. I could hold the thing in my hand. I was like smashing my face into this thing. And I had that. And then I had a sort of ramen noodle soup thing. And I could literally taste the soup in my mouth. But I wasn't eating. And I told my mum. Mum was like, yeah, I think the drugs are quite strong. I was like, yeah, they must be. Because I was literally envisaging eating all of these flavors, and it was so lifelong. So to finally eat again has just been unbelievable. And it's that's when it becomes worth it, when you can finally start to get those little bits of normality. So Mum and I, in the last couple of days, so I've got PICC lining, so I've kind of got one arm. That's what the PICC line looks like. People don't like stuff. I'll explain what it does in a minute. She's helped me basically come in to help me wash occasionally and get changed and stuff, because I can't get this arm wet, so I have to basically do like wet wipe washing and rag washing and stuff. And she'll basically come down, just make sure everything's all right, sort of thing. Because I've got to carry around all these other tubes and units and stuff. It's quite difficult to maneuver when you have to carry so many things around.
For you as well? That's something I struggled with initially, was the lack of my dependence or independence. That was all of a sudden I remember I couldn't get from the bed at one point to the shower and back again without someone assisting me. I was like freaking out.
It didn't freak me out. I just kept apologizing to people.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. And they're like, what are you being sorry for? It's like, because I'm doing everything normally and I can't do it. Like the first day, Mum came to help me, because when I moved downstairs and I was in loads of pain, I said to my mum, can you wash me? Because the nurses were like, try and do it yourself. But I was so exhausted and so much pain. Like Mum was helping me wash, and I'm literally just doing this really slowly. And I hated it, absolutely hated it. But again, you have to look at it like, this isn't permanent. It will change. But just doing basic tasks, couldn't do it. And that was difficult. But then I've looked at every day and gone, right, that was yesterday. This is what I'm going to achieve today. And if I can't achieve it, I'll achieve it tomorrow. And I've literally mapped out how I've tried to attack, if you will, the last couple of weeks. And when I've had a setback, it's like, right, revert back to where we were, start back at that point, and then go again. So, right, we've all been blocked up, go back to sipping nothing, ask for gastrographin, let's push it all out, and then we'll rebuild. And that's just how it has to be.
It's so important though. Setting like working like that is so important.
But this is it, and this is why we're saying you have to be mentally prepared for it. And when things go wrong, you need to have the mental strength and a plan to go, right, we've moved backwards, but we will move forwards again. But yeah, they've got a staff canteen upstairs, which is this restaurant, and they do the most stunning, full-on breakfasts. Like they've got yogurts and porridges and oats, and they've got all the fried breakfast stuff and coffees and all these bits and pieces. My mum's come down. She's come down in the morning. I've gone, right, we'll go upstairs and have a coffee. You can have a coffee. I'll just sip on some water. And every day I've said to her, right, when this starts working, I'll get clear fluids. I'm going to have a coffee tomorrow. So the objective for tomorrow is to go and have a coffee. And I've said, I've set, and I've had to move it back a lot. By the end of this week, we're going to have breakfast up here. And that's what I'm going to hopefully do tomorrow, is I'm going to go upstairs and have a small bit of scrambled egg and maybe some toast or something and go, right, we've had breakfast. So I can tick that objective off. Because that, again, gives you the satisfaction of going, yes, we achieved that target. And then after that went, cool, go home. And then this is what I'm going to do when I'm at home. And it's a lot of this process is the end goal is so close, but you can't quite reach it. You have to keep working. You have to keep moving, and then you'll get there. And that is the most frustrating thing, because you'll feel great, but if your stoma isn't working, you're not going anywhere. And, you know, I've had a PICC line put in just simply because my stoma has stopped so many times. And that's been giving me nutrients because I haven't been able to physically eat. Now I can physically eat and things continue to keep moving forward. The PICC line can come out. So again, more objectives are being ticked off. So you slowly get there. And if you look at the grand scheme of things, 2 weeks in hospital, that's not too bad because you've had major surgery. And I guess, you know, maybe you don't think it's major surgery, but it is. It's major life-changing surgery.
I think that's one of the falsehoods that comes out of keyhole surgery as well, because you haven't got a big slice and dice. You're like, oh, there's no marks. I'm all right.
I've got a tiny little scar which has healed amazingly. Literally just sort of around my pubic bone area. That's the only scar I have. And then I have 4 little satellites, which have all healed. Sorry. And then and you think, well, that's amazing. It's keyhole. They're just going to take it out, sort of thing. But you know, they've disconnected a shed load of internal organ. So, you know, it's in the grand scheme of things, 2 weeks isn't bad. It's not bad at all.
I think one of the mantras that I kept focusing on was it's always darkest before the dawn, which is something that we talk about in the military a lot. And
that couldn't be more true. And I think, if honestly, if anyone is to ever go through this experience, that phrase that John has just said is so true. And you really learn and understand how mentally strong you are. And because if you think you can't do something, once you've had the surgery, you can take on anything. Like, seriously. You know, I joked with my friend, sod it, let's go climb Mount Kilimanjaro next year. You can do. But do you know what I mean?
Like
that.
If there's no
do you know what I mean? Yeah, no, we'll get loads of us to do it. Just because, you know, these are the harder tests. When you are on your own, you are at your wit's end. You're frustrated, you're angry, you're hungry, you're tired, you're weak, you're in loads of pain, and it looks like there's no way out. That's when you learn a lot about yourself. And mentally, I've got stronger in the last 2 weeks, which is, again, sort of counterintuitive because you don't expect that in surgery at all. But yeah, I'm hoping, because today's gone well, fingers crossed, if I have another good day tomorrow, they said we'll look to try and discharge you on Monday. So
Monday's a big day.
Tuesday. Well, it'll probably be Tuesday because I even said to the doctor, it'll be Tuesday then. He said, why? And I went, because it takes a long time to discharge people, doesn't it? So, but yeah, it's...
I think that is, you've got ahead of the game there, because that's true.
Yeah, exactly.
The discharge can take some time.
Yeah, but I've got to get the PICC line taken out. So I'll explain what a PICC line is quickly for people who don't know what it is. Because I haven't been able to eat, they've had to intravenously stick in a PICC line. So a PICC line is basically an internal cannula. So not like the little ones you get on your arms. I've had like 4 or 5 in my arm this week. It's a big one that goes in your vein in your arm. So they basically feed it through your vein. It goes up here, down this way, towards a little area near your heart. And they pump you full of nutrients. So it completely bypasses your digestive tract. And with that, it means that you can put on weight So I've had that going. It's a 24-hour feed. That's got about 3,000 calories in it, just to put weight back on. And it gives your digestive system a chance to relax. And that's what they were so concerned with, was because I was being sick so much and I couldn't eat. It was like, right, you're literally wasting away. We have to top you up with something. The PICC line itself, the procedures, it's not painful at all. They numb your arm, you stick it through your vein, they feed it around. It's fine. You just can't get it wet.
And some people have that for a permanent. Some people have PICC lines.
Yeah. Well, literally, loads of people are talking to me have said, similar stories like yourself and other people. There's a guy called Tommy. His stoma didn't wake up for 2 weeks. There was a girl in Australia that was messaging me, and her stoma didn't work for 4 weeks. And there's a girl in America that was messaging me saying that she was on TPN for a month before her stoma worked, so she went home with it. There's a Swedish girl that has been messaging me for quite a lot. I think she's still on TPN. She's been on it for 3 or 4 months, just for things to work. So again, in the grand scheme of things, 2 weeks in hospital and things are slowly moving isn't too bad at all. Not comparing it to other people's stories or anything like that, but just to put it into a bit of perspective, things could be worse for you. There are some people that have messaged me that have had intestinal failure, so nothing works. They have to have a permanent feeding tube, which again for me was, you do sit there and go, what if that happened? Which is incredibly low risk, but it could happen. And when you're in those situations, you just have to really sit and talk with your doctors. They're going to be on their rounds in the mornings, as are the nurses. I had a team of 6 would always come in. All my nurses, all my doctors have been incredible. They're just unbelievably knowledgeable, unbelievably professional, and they're friendly, like a great bed manner, and have been so approachable with everything. But when they come in, that's your opportunity to really ask every single question you can think of. Like, write down all these questions and ask them. If they don't know, they come back and tell you, they give you those answers. And when you're in those situations, just try and get as much information as possible. But yeah, I'm not out of the woods yet. Don't get me wrong. I could go home and hopefully it doesn't happen, but I could have a situation like yourself where I have to come back. But it's certainly showed me that what I can manage to have, what I can do, and what I need to do to get back to full flight, as it were.
Have they talked about when you need to come in for a checkup on the stoma?
Yeah. So ironically, this is the stupidest thing. He booked it on the 13th. Was my surgery. He said come back on the 26th, and it's now the 1st of March. So I'll probably come back in 6 weeks' time, just to see how I'm getting on and how things have settled down and calmed down and stuff like that. But I'm really, really happy with my stoma. It looks really, really pretty. I know it sounds so bizarre, but it literally looks like a textbook one. It's really small. It's like a tiny little thing like that, tiny bit wider. It's all pink. It looks really, really nice. It's not hanging down weirdly or awkwardly. As we've been sitting here now, it's literally spewing out lots of fluid, which is good.
Now you need to be careful, because that can become a pastime where you just sit and watch yourself take it down.
Well, mate, I'm not being funny. I've cut a window out of my bag because I've been eating and I've wanted to see stuff come out to see that it's been working. It's fascinating. It's utterly fascinating.
Because you get that sensation of a build-up, well, at least I did. I got a build-up, and there's a brrp, and you're like, whoa, look at it.
Yeah, you're like, oh, look at it go. That's the other thing that I find hilarious, which you can't control, is you fart. Like, it just comes out your stoma. So you're like, oh, excuse me. Like, literally, friend was here earlier. I've had, like, my parents here, like, when I've gone upstairs to go to have PICC lines in, you feel just a build-up of pressure, and then it just goes, like, but so loudly. I was like, I'm going to do this podcast. I really hope my stoma just doesn't start farting. I was on the phone the other night to my mate, and he was like, what's that? I was like, sorry, that's my stoma. And he was like, really? Like, yeah. He's like, I was like, because it has no like muscle or sphincter in it, it's not going to stop. It will just release the gas. And it's absolutely hilarious. So yeah, I think it's it's just something that is absolutely hilarious. Sorry, I'm just going to turn this alarm. Okay.
Well,
5 more minutes
just be
left
aware, like
on my
whenever
alarm.
you eat beetroot, it's going to come out red. So prepare yourself.
Well, that was what it was like beforehand. Anyway, everything was coming out red. Literally, I can see it going now. It's just it's fascinating. It's bizarre at the same time, but it is absolutely fascinating. Just I you know yeah, I need to sit down with my stoma nurses, get loads more products, look at things and stuff. But yeah, the next step is I think my output is still quite high. It needs to get to under 1,000 milliliters a day, so it's coming down.
You'll get the whole marshmallow brief, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't really like marshmallows though, so I'll find something else that's similar to marshmallows to bulk it out. But yeah, there's the next steps are the exciting step. I'm really looking forward to getting back to work, and they've been absolutely amazing with this. I'm looking forward to getting back to the gym, being able to eat and put on weight again, and yeah, start my new life, because it is a new life. And yeah, I'm really pleased with how my body looks. I thought that would take a long time to come to terms with, but it doesn't. I woke up from surgery and was immediately pleased with the results. So that's what I want to carry on going forward. And I've got many little projects in the pipeline where I will be showcasing my new body, if you will, with my bag. And yeah, I will show all of you lot when the project comes to fruition, which will be fun.
That's going to be mega.
So, yeah.
What would be your advice for people that are either thinking or scheduled to come in for their surgery? What would your advice be to help them?
So if you're thinking of surgery and you haven't had it booked in, what I would recommend is really write down the pros and cons of having surgery. So for me, because I have colitis, it was a no-brainer. Don't have to be on medication anymore. Don't have to feel like shit because of the side effects of medication. You'll be symptom-free. Right, tick, do it. If you have Crohn's, it's a different kettle of fish because your Crohn's can affect other parts of your digestive system. So again, you seriously need to think about what you need to do and need to achieve if you're going to have this surgery. Because you may still have to be on medication, you may still get side effects from those medications, etc. You may need further surgeries. So again, you need to write all that down. Chat with your doctors and be properly open and honest and frank with them. They need to tell you warts and all what's going to happen. Chat with as many people as possible, friends, family, social media friends, about surgery. What was it like? How it changed their lives, if they're better now, and what were those hurdles they had to get over? Because not a lot of people told me the hurdles of the surgery. It was more, everything's going to be great. And you then literally fixate on everything being amazing. Secondly, if you are having surgery, you've booked it all in, etc., you need to mentally prepare yourself. It is not a smooth ride at all by any stretch of the imagination. Even you said, mate, just waking up from the gas of the surgery, the pain, having to be reliant on other people, not being able to do the simplest of things. You will feel like rock bottom. You will feel like you want to cry a lot. Do it. Let your emotions out. You're in hospital. It doesn't matter. You're there to get better. And you will get better. You just have to set yourself small objectives every day. If you don't achieve those objectives, set it for the following day. Make a tick sheet, tick them off. Because when you start ticking them off, you start to notice the progress you're making. If you go backwards, you go back to that point where you were at, and then you redo those tasks, and you will physically feel so much better. And just make sure you've got friends, family, anybody you can chat to when you need to chat to somebody. I've been very fortunate. I've got so many people on Instagram that message me throughout the days. I've got friends, yourself, family, where you're feeling down, or if you're not, you just want to talk to somebody. That's about just mind if I call you? Yep, no problems. Give us a call. That helps, because the other side of it is when you're in hospital, you're on your own. You're in a bed. There's only so much Netflix you can watch. There's only so many times you can read books, and it does become boring. And that's where the frustration comes out of it. So just be prepared to be sitting around a lot and waiting a lot. Make sure you've got things that will entertain yourself. Try and get people in as best you can. So you take your mind off it, chat, walk around when you can, and help yourself by getting out of bed as much as you can. Walking around, even if you are in tremendous pain, those little walks will help. Get rid of a lot of the gas and help with your active recovery. You need to tell your doctors everything, how you're feeling, what the new challenges of today have brought, or last night brought, or whatever, because they are only going off what you're telling them. So you just need to be honest. Yeah, that's about it, mate.
What was your Netflix best find?
Well, Formula One Drive to Survive came on yesterday, and I literally finished it within a day, which was good. Lock Key was a good show. I watched that. But I mainly watched food programs. I think I watched Rick Stein drive around all of Europe on various things. I watched the hairy bikers do loads of stuff. I've just been fixated on food, watching MasterChef, loads of random food programs.
So you're going to be having a dinner night soon, then?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Based on your experience and what you've shared through Instagram, what would you like people to take most from your Instagram stories? What do you hope people take from watching your story?
Hopefully they just get the brutal honesty of it, and that gives them a much more informed decision about the surgery, and it enlightens them to the actual after side of surgery and the recovery side of it. And even though it is difficult, it is worth it when you get there. That's about it, really. And even if people watch this, and they, do whatever, you're more than welcome to reach out to myself. I'm sure Johnny will be the same. Reach out to us and talk to us, because when you've got someone to at least converse with, it does help massively with everything. So yeah,
mate, it's been class. I love catching up with you. I'm so glad that you're through this side of it now, and like everything's starting to look that positive trajectory. It's gonna be amazing. Yeah, keeping them crossed.
We gotta get out. I've been here before.
Yeah.
And things have been going well, and then we've gone back and things have moved. So, but yeah, I'm actually going to go and get some ice cream in a minute. Hopefully.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So,
well, I think that's my cue to let you get that ice cream. I think you've earned it.
Thank you, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure catching up with you again. And I know we did this on your last one, where you were like, my name's Anthony Andrews, I've got colitis and we can beat this. My name's Anthony Andrews, and I did beat colitis because I don't have it anymore. And that is something that is just incredible.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
absolutely amazing.
It is. Right then, matey. Well, I'll leave you to it. I'll probably just give you a call night in the week or something, or chat over Instagram as normal and stuff like that. Again, if anyone is watching this and hasn't spoken to John and stuff like that before, get in touch with him. Really solid guy. Yeah, got loads of great advice. It's also really helped me through this process because he has been checking up on me a lot. So yeah, anytime anyone needs anything, definitely speak to this man.
Thank you so much. But again, thank you again for just being open and honest, just being yourself, which can obviously be so rare in this day and age. and sharing that brutally honest thing of your journey from surgery. It's so brave, and I think it's going to help a lot of people.
But thank you very much again for tonight, mate. Really appreciate it. Keep doing your podcasts. Really enjoy listening to them. And I might even get one of my friends to do it. I will send the details across to you. Maybe you can get into contact with her and you can set one up as well.
100%, mate. 100%. Right, go get your ice cream. Hey, Cronies, thanks so much for watching tonight. I hope you got a lot from Ant's story. Obviously, follow on Instagram. He's still uploading. As of right now, he's obviously still in hospital and going through the process. And he's obviously just announced there as well that he's got some projects in the pipeline. So stay tuned for those coming out. It's a really exciting time for Ant. He's finally got what he wanted with his ileostomy. And as he said, he's beat colitis. It's not obviously the perfect picture because we've had to have our bowels removed in order to do that. But at least now he's able to lead the life that he wants to live. So I hope you got a lot from tonight's chat. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell icon and give us a like whilst you're on YouTube. And if you're on anywhere else, just hit us a like and subscribe to the channel. Hope to see you all again soon, and we'll see you later. Bye for now.